Hey you guys, welcome back to Michael Clarida Arts. So today I'm going to be doing a update review. We'd like to do those, right? So a piece of hardware that I've had for quite a while has been circulating throughout my studio. I've been utilizing it as a sketch device, professional device, browsing device, movie watching device. It's one of those kind of catch-alls that we all like to have hanging around, and it's got some pretty interesting little quirks and features that my initial review really didn't hit on, that now I'm a little bit more mature in using it. I can kind of point out some of those things that are bonuses or pluses or possibly minuses depending on how you look at them. So the device in question is the Microsoft Surface Laptop Studio. This device came into my possession earlier in the year, and I did an initial review, which I'll put in the description down below. And I was very impressed with just the fit and finish, the quality, the performance was really good, the battery life, and I noted it as being one of the best, if not the best, Microsoft Surface drawing experiences that I had ever had. I can say that because I've had a lot of Microsoft Surface devices. I initially purchased a Microsoft Surface 2, and that had Wacom EMR technology. A lot of people don't realize that. That was probably in 2012, 2013 era. And then I allocated a Surface 3, Surface Pro 3. And that was a complete redesign of the form factor, and that particular one had an i5 processor with, I believe, 8 gigs of RAM. Don't quote me on that. So now that we've matured in the entire product line, now we're up to Surface Pro 9, which I believe just came out a few weeks ago, and some of the other devices that Microsoft has released, such as the Microsoft Studio 2 Plus, and some of their Surface devices that are roaming around. They've got Surface Go, they've got Surface Pros, they've got Surface, they've got Surface Laptop Studios, which is more geared toward a designer / illustrator, and they've got a very robust lineup. But the device that we're going to be looking at again is, of course, the Surface Laptop Studio that I have. I have the kind of the middle range, I believe. Might even be middle to low range because these devices have become so expensive now, right? They're as much as desktop machines. And the one I have is the i5 processor that has 16 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. And it's got an integrated Iris Intel graphics card. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the fit and finish of what I've looked at over these past few months, some wear and tear and some things that I think maybe need to be addressed. And we're going to do a little bit of drawing, maybe some line testing again, to kind of let you understand and see exactly what I'm seeing and what I don't deem as being such a huge deal in my environment, but you might deem it really big. Okay, so here I am on the device, and I wanted to kind of give just an overview of my experience with this particular product over the past few months. So the size is great. I really haven't had any issues with the machine overall. I haven't had any program issues as per the operating system. I have had a couple weird anomalies, but that's to be expected on Windows 11 whenever you're constantly updating drivers, graphics drivers, audio drivers, security. I mean, literally. And then I just went through the Windows 11 update recently. So those things are kind of to be quote unquote expected, air quotes. The things that are really consistent with this particular machine apply to a couple of Adobe programs, and we're going to go through those really quick. But in terms of speed, right now, as I sit, I'm recording on OBS Studio. I've got Illustrator and Photoshop both open. And so far, it's done pretty good. I haven't really had a lot of hiccups, except possibly in Photoshop. And I'm going to show you that in a second. So I'm opening this up. I wanted to show you guys the one thing that was kind of, I don't want to say concerning, but it's something that I noticed probably about 2 months into owning this device. First of all, the keyboard was great. The trackpad was great. All these things are great. Obviously I talked about the peripherals, but you can see since I only have 2, real estate is at a premium. So I have to have, the dongle to be able to plug stuff in. And also, what's nice about this machine, though, it does have a dedicated power port on the right-hand side. So the keyboard lights up, the keys are fantastic. But what I did notice, and I'm pretty sure you won't be able to see this, but it is there. So there are two lines that appear on the right and the left-hand side on the base of the device, and I think it comes from the screen. I'm not really sure why that is happening. I can take a little bit of water and rub them out quite successfully, but at first I thought it was possibly rubber or magnets or something along those lines, but most of the time I have it in this particular configuration right here whenever I have it down. So this area does not touch the keyboard base of the machine. So I'm not really sure where those two black lines happen here and here. Some people have asked me about the hinge. The hinge works great, haven't had any issues. I am very ginger and easy with it to make sure that it doesn't break because I want it to last long. One of the things that I have to note, I referenced me having a Surface Pro 2 and a Surface Pro 3. I want to kind of give a broader spectrum here in terms of how I have experienced the Surface products over the years. I've had a Surface Pro 5. I have had a Surface Pro 8. I've had two Surface Books, one with an i5 and the other one with an i7. And the i7 Surface Book has actually separated the screen because the battery has swelled. And that's kind of a common problem with the early Surface Books because of the heat issue. So that being said, you can see the color saturation is beautiful. I've had 0 dead pixels, and it doesn't really run hot. Right now it's a little warm just because I've got all these programs running. But overall, I haven't had really any skips. So let's go ahead and look at Photoshop really quick. So this particular document is 300 dpi. Let's go ahead and look at the image size. Image size is 14 by 12.5 at 300 dpi. And I believe we're at an RGB, let me see, image mode. Yeah, we're at RGB at 8 bits per channel. So in terms of drawing experience, the Pro Pen 2 is great. It's paired with the machine. It's designed to go with the machine with that multiple levels of pressure sensitivity. I believe it's over 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity, and it's great. I use the eraser periodically. I'm not really an eraser guy, and in terms of what I utilize the eraser for, if I come here, a lot of times I'll press I'll press just right here. I don't turn it around. I mean, I don't really, quite. I don't know why I quit. Oh, because I hit that little window. Sorry about that. The little tab. I hit learn more instead of close. So the eraser's great. Again, like I said, I haven't had too many issues when it comes to programs, but Photoshop is definitely one that really needs to be shown so you kind of understand what you're going to get yourself into if you buy this machine. So this is the i5 with 16 gigs of RAM, and it's got, I believe, a 3.6 gigahertz processor. So let's go ahead and look. Let's do about. I want to show you, just so for transparency here. I know that this is kind of mundane. So 16 gigs of RAM, and then it's got the i5 3.10 and 311 gigahertz. It's the 11th gen processor, and it's got Iris graphics. So that being said, now you know what the machine is about. So, you come in here, you're like, okay, I want to draw. Pressure sensitivity is fantastic. It's really good. So we're going to zoom in a little bit here. So we're going to zoom in really tight. You can see just the light touch it has. I'm going to go a little bit heavier, and then maximum. And then we're going to go ahead and go a little bit lighter, and pretty much. And so in terms of just how it feels, it's so good with this rubber tip on the smooth screen. I don't have a screen protector on it. I don't have a matte screen protector to get rid of the glare because, you know, I have it at this angle. I don't really have issues with glare. Now, if I'm out in the world and I'm dealing with stuff, yeah, I might have issues with glare and I might have to put something on there. But overall, it's really good. And whenever I do the diagonal line test, you can see it's really good. Okay. Nope, there's no smoothing on here at all. Now this is a textured brush, so it's gonna take a little bit more of rendering the larger I get. But you can see I don't really have any issues. I don't have issues with wiggle, and I really didn't have issues with wiggle on the previous Surface products because I don't do super meticulous diagonal lines. That's the Achilles heel of this particular technology, is that diagonal line. So I don't really have issues with that. I know it's frustrating for those of you that do, so I'm going to do this really quick. Just for posterity and transparency, I'm going to go to the general brushes. I'm going to go hard pressure round size. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a diagonal, and you're going to be able to see a little bit of wave. I mean, literally, if we were to zoom in, and this is being so particular on this particular facet of the technology that I dare even say I don't like doing the diagonal line test, because if you're going to draw something, you know, certain brushes will do stuff like this that'll bring out some of the Achilles heel that this technology has. And honestly, the wiggle's not too bad, but whenever you start getting into it spotting like this, it's not great. And tapering off, I've had a few people ask me if it tapers and you get these weird taper lines that happen in Illustrator. We're going to look at that in just a second. But again, I'm taxing the machine pretty heavily because I've got Illustrator and Photoshop open and I've got OBS Studio running. And still, I'm not getting any lag, any parallax, or anything like that. So that's really good. You can see the graphics card, that shared graphics card is really good. And you know, let's make that really big. I mean, who makes brushes like this? This is ridiculous. This is ludicrously big. And yeah, see, and it's still, when a brush is that big, typically it'll chew forever. And it's doing actually pretty good with all of these things running. So let's go ahead and make it down a little bit. Make it larger. So that is Photoshop. Now, obviously, if I had more than one layer or two layers, if I had maybe 30 layers and I'm starting to do things, then we might have some issues. This is a tongue-in-cheek exercise to show you the current level that I experience Photoshop at. So if I were to go and I were to open one of my other files, if I can find them, hopefully we have something set up. Let's go to desktop. Okay, so this is right here. I think, is that a JPEG? That might be a JPEG. No, it's not opening like a JPEG. No, that's a JPEG. So this is a pretty big file. Let's go ahead. Let's open another file. I want a layered file. Layered file. PSD Beans Relaxing. Frank Sketch. Face review. Okay, mouse. Okay, so here's a layered file. Now I've got 3 files open. This one has probably maybe 25 layers, maybe 30 layers. So we're going to go in. You're getting a slight hesitation. It's not as freeform and good as it was when I had just a file with one layer. Now, hold on. I know you saw that. So let's go ahead. We're not going to save that. Okay, and we're not going to save that file. Actually, we're gonna hold on that file. So here we are. This is kind of indicative of where I work, you know, and how I utilize Photoshop. So I've got multiple layers, so I can go in here, and you see I don't really have a lot of layer effects. I set my files up that way just because I came from an apparel and production side and creative side, and we had to set files up for separation. And whenever you have a lot of effects, whenever you flatten those effects, a lot of times it causes issues. So I tend not to use a lot of effects in my work. And if I do, I have them in a layer mask or a layer group that I can group them together and flatten things down. So just in turn, I mean, you can see it's not really, we're not having any quote unquote issues. And you're like, wait a minute, what about that black thing that I saw? Okay, so in this configuration, when you have the tab windows open, right, and you have this floating window, you're not really going to have a lot of issues with what you saw before. Where you start, and I'm talking about those weird blinks and the black squares, where I start having issues is when I go full screen. So when I go full screen and I start to go and draw, let's go back here. Let's go right here. We're going to create a layer, okay? And I go right here and I start to draw. You see that blinking right there? I think that's probably a video card issue, possibly, with Photoshop. In Windows, there's a bad one right there. And it might be the zoom in, zoom out issue, but it also happens, believe it or not, whenever I'm painting. You can see, so if I'm just painting, you can see that square blinking. So it's a really odd anomaly that I haven't seen on other machines. So let's go ahead, and it happens regardless if OBS Studio is running in the background or if you have Illustrator running. So I have Illustrator, OBS Studio running, and it still happens without those running. So now that I've gotten rid of the full screen, I can go in and I've got basically, I can go in and paint, and I can do all that. I can switch, and we're not having any of that black square. And I'm going to show you my settings in here just a second. Let me go. Okay, custom brush. Here we go. So whenever we use like a texture brush, again, you're not having any blinking, and it looks really good. And I don't have any blinking whenever I plug in a large format tablet, like a 2K or a 1080p tablet. I can go as large as 24 inches, and I still don't have any issues. So maybe it has to do with a driver installed in Photoshop or something, because I have had blink on Photoshop and on other machines, not only from a Dell to a Lenovo to an HP to even Microsoft. They all tend to have that weird blink anomaly, but this is the worst one I've seen with the black squares in full screen. So just keep that in mind if you're going to utilize this for anything major. This is just showing you in terms of, having a layered file open at 300 DPI. And it's not a small image. So let's go to image size. We're at 15 by 10 at 300 DPI. So that is my Photoshop experience. That black square, literally, if I were to go and we're in full screen now, that really would drive me crazy. It would drive me crazy if I didn't know it was there and I couldn't figure it out. Trust me. I've tried figuring out what the deal is overall, but I just can't. I don't know what the deal is. So we're going to go to performance image processing. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Fine. Okay, and we're going to go to, this is my setup right here. The cache tile size, cache levels. I don't like a lot of histories in my Photoshop. I just don't. It eats up resources. And then I've got this as far as the settings. OpenCL is on, and anti-aliasing guides and paths. I played around a little bit with the settings, and this tends to be the best setting for me. Obviously, if you have different types of files, then you have to kind of adjust things. Now, again, this is just an update of the computer. This isn't a full review of the machine itself. I didn't want to get into that. Just because I've already done that, and this is an update of me seeing things that were kind of like questionable, and I wanted to show you exactly what was going on. So we're going to go ahead and get out of Photoshop. No. Okay. Takes a second for it to get rid of stuff. Yeah, there we go. Again, I am running OBS Studio, so that might be one of the issues that I'm having. So here we are in Illustrator. So a lot of you have questioned, does this work in Illustrator? And I've said yes. The thing is, recently I noticed in terms of pressure and how this particular machine treats pressure in Illustrator, I had to update some graphic drivers because I was having an issue where pressure was was not grayed out. It was there, but it just didn't work correctly. So right now, as you see, pressure works really good. You can see, I mean, I've got a little bit of drop off, but that's just because, you know, I'm really pulling back on it. Nice pressure coming in. You know, coming out, I'm not getting any, a little bit of tapering. But again, I'm running that OBS in the background, so we're chewing some graphics resources from Illustrator. So let's go ahead and make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so we're going to go 2, hit OK, leave strokes. Okay, now we're got a smaller. So here's the little thing that you need to remember. Okay, so I need to go back. Okay. Illustrator will remember the last stroke you've selected. So a lot of times you'll change the brush parameters and you'll go to draw again, and it hasn't changed those brush settings in the in the actual brush. So what I do a lot of times is I'll just take my selection tool, I'll drag, and that'll give it a clean slate. So if I were to select like this one, what happens is it'll copy that one. Okay, so watch. So if I go to this one, it'll copy that one. It's a weird thing. I understand. You're looking at it going, I just don't understand what's going on. So let's do this, and then I go to draw again. Look, it copied that one right there. So if I go to this one and I draw, it's copied that one. So just remember, whenever you're doing this, you know, Illustrator is one of those fun programs that you experiment with. And certain machines, you know, pressure is kind of funny. It's kind of funny on different machines, right? It was different on my Surface Book. I don't think I ever really got it to work on my Surface Book. You know, a lot of that might have to do with user error. Just remember, user error is a very big variable. But overall, you can see the pressure curve is really good. We're going to go ahead and zoom in. I'm going to do a diagonal line test so you guys can see. I don't think I have smoothing on this. I don't think I do. I don't typically like smoothing on any of my drawings. Okay, so pressure more and less. Go pressure more, full, and then less. You're seeing some of these bumps, but that's my hand wiggling just slightly. And of course, if I go quicker, you know how this N-Trig technology is. It's got like a predictive stroke. It really says, okay, you're going this way, you're going for the fat, okay, and I'm going to predict it. But whenever you go slow is when it's like, and the computing power tries to catch up to it. And a lot of times with the digitizer and the algorithm that's in the pen and utilizing and communicating back and forth with the computer, you'll get that constant wave, right? But as you see, you can see right here, that's pretty good. That's a diagonal. So then we go, whoops, my pen lifted. My pen keeps lifting off here. See, I'm getting some breaks, but I can't determine it because I'm trying to pull back on the stroke. So let's do just constant, 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 constant. So whenever I have a constant and I'm not pulling and pulling and pulling and trying to get a really light stroke, it works pretty daggum good. Cancel. So let's go ahead and select. So now we've got, you got to understand, that's really not that big. And then we go ahead and we just start drawing. So then we come to like a pen. Okay. So you can see I've got great control. I'm not going to draw anything in particular. I just want to show you the capabilities of the machine. And again, really good zoom, even though I've got OBS Studio running. That's that caveat that I want to throw in there. So, okay, and what I wanted to do, since this channel is about drawing and not really reviewing technology unless it applies to drawing on the computer. I'm just going to do a really quick drawing test to show you, through the process of me using this device, I've kind of got a methodology to utilizing it so it applies to my workflow. So, not everybody sits there and does diagonal line test every day, right? That doesn't make any sense. So this is just going to be a real world, kind of what I would do, sit down at a desk or sitting maybe at a cafe or a coffee shop or something, and I've got the machine in front of me. Now, I've got it, like I said, I believe I said this before, on a stand, and even though this has different settings for this application and what we're doing today, I just wanted to prop it up on the stand so it's not moving around and all that other stuff. So, okay, so what I'm doing is I'm just going to sit here and draw something fun. For those of you who follow me on social medias will recognize this particular character. This will be Freddy the Yeti. Okay. See, I'm not sitting here drawing diagonal lines all day, and I hate to keep making a point at that. It's just that is not the defining test of a device, and I think that a lot of people have really grown accustomed to that being the the make or break of the device itself, and honestly, it's not. So, every device is going to be different. As I've said this before, every device doesn't apply to you, right? Some people think the iPad is the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I think it's good, but do I think it's the best device for me? Probably not, because, you get on the iPad and even though it says it runs full versions of applications and programs, it really doesn't, and the workflow. The biggest thing I have a problem with the iPad is the file manipulation, right? If I want to open multiple files at a time, or if I want to cut and paste, and if I want to transfer, if I want to save, go to the desktop, add textures, stuff like that. There's a specific kind of workflow that I have that I'm really used to. And you can actually sit here and say, well, that's your fault for not being able to learn a different workflow. And yeah, that's fine. You can say that. But I think at the end of the day, after I've been doing things a while a certain way, I have the ability to change the way I do things. But really, it comes down to if it makes sense, right? I don't mind learning a new program as long as it makes sense and it's going to benefit, me in the long run, overall, to basically, do something for my business model. Or in my private life, like if I want to learn a new program or if I want to do something like that and I have the time to do it. And the iPad, I learned Procreate and I learned how to use it, and that was perfectly fine. But I just think that for me, I want to be able to use pro-level applications and not have to sit there and discern what is going to be the best way to cut and paste a file when I already know how to do it on a PC. Hopefully what I'm saying makes sense. I'm just trying to let you guys see that I'm not closed-minded at all, and I'm always one to say, you need to learn as much as you can, and learn new programs and learn new ways of doing things, but whenever I'm sitting here drawing, whenever I'm trying to basically, that's not up high enough. Okay, edit, free transform. Make this a little bit smaller. Okay. So what I'm basically trying to say is, with so many words, there's so many words. Shut up and draw there, monkey. Isn't that what we want to say sometimes to the people that are doing these stinking videos. Just explain what you're doing. Yeah, so I love, like I said, I love drawing on the surfaces. A lot of people have had so many issues with these things, but I love them. And a lot of people are like, well, you're not having any problems, brah. So, yeah, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have problems. This doesn't make any sense, does it? Yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm okay with that. Some drawings aren't supposed to make sense, right? It's okay, we don't have to make them make sense. See, this is basically how I use the machine, exactly the way you're seeing it today. As I completely, man, trying to get that in the center. Yeah. Okay, the fan has stopped. This is the first time I've really messed around with this machine this morning, and I turned it on, and I think it had some software updates in the background, but I didn't really feel them. You know how sometimes you can feel the software updates as it chugs and chirps and has issues and whatnot. Yeah, I really haven't had any issues this morning with this. Okay, so let's go ahead and have the leg come down, his knee. So anyway, yeah, this is exactly how I use the machine. I typically will set it up on my lap, or I'll set it right here on the desk in my traditional drawing desk, and I'll start drawing and, you know, doing characters and whatnot. So 3, 4, he's got 4 toes. Now you are seeing the blinking. Now if I were to go to full screen, you see that right there. Like if I were to start and blink, and yeah. So that's something that I just talked about a few moments ago. And it's, you know, something that happens with this particular device. I've already updated the graphics driver, and I know it's not that. It's probably just because it doesn't happen that much whenever I'm in this particular configuration. Okay, let's go ahead and draw that out. Now, draw this as a big shape first. For those of you who are looking for sort of, I don't know, what am I trying to say here? You want to learn how to draw. I've got over 600 videos on my channel now of me drawing, me showing you how to draw, me showing you how to draw in different programs, you know, painting, drawing, vector graphics. I mean, it's just, I got so many different, 600 videos. I didn't even realize, I looked at the amount of videos that I had, and I'm like, man, there's 600 videos on here. It's doing something weird right now. And I might be because of the fact that I don't have a glove on, but I'm going to go ahead and overlook that just for a moment to see if I can emulate what it was just doing and then determine if it's me. It's dragging, something's going on with the cursor. It's dragging the cursor, and I don't know if it's because I keep hitting this button, but if I hit this button, now it doesn't work at all. The machine has completely frozen. Interesting. No. Touch doesn't work either. Okay, sorry about that. The touch stopped working, and then my battery ran out on my little remote doohickey. So, my apologies for that. Okay, so overall, I mean, let's do this. Let's do this. I'm trying to draw while I talk here. Yeah, so overall, I mean, I've already said it once. It's one of the best drawing experiences on the market for an illustrator. artists, you know, you just have to determine if you're going to go out and spend the amount of money it takes to buy a machine like this. There's a lot of competition now, and I'm sure that there's better options out there. The problem is finding somebody that really understands and knows and has experienced all of these options. You know, I've experienced a few of them here and there, and I can give my opinion based upon what I have experienced. But at the end of the day, you know, go to a store or, you know, look around. Wouldn't it be great if there was a service that you could rent a machine like this? You pay whatever it costs, you know, a per day fee, and you basically review the product, and then you're like, yeah, I really like this. And if you like it, you can either purchase it from the person that you're renting it from or the company, or you know, find the best option and do it that way. That way you can really invest in experiencing the device in a way that you don't have to go out and spend thousands of dollars and then, you know, 2 months in or a month and a half in or even a week in, you're like, gosh, this machine sucks, right? It's just one of those things where you're trying to get the best option possible, and it's really hard to do. Let's get a little sweat bead here and there. Yeah, so you can see, like I said, I don't sit there and do this all day, or this, or this. Whenever I'm drawing, I'm only thinking of one thing, and that's, does the machine slow down? No, it does not. Does the machine start having issues? Well, you saw the issue that I had to restart, and that, again, that's a PC, man. PC all day. Do Macs have issues like that? Yeah, but they're few and far between. And this is coming from the fact that I've used Macintoshes since 1997. So I do really have a kind of a good feeling of what, you know, I'm going to have people on here to like, PCs rule. Yeah, they do. A lot of them are really good. What is going on? There we go. Yeah, PCs are great. Until they're not. You know, I can't really say anything about Macs because recently I had a complete drive failure of one of the peripherals that was attached to my Macintosh. And that's a peripheral. You know, the SSD drive that I had just failed. And I lost so much information. And it was very hard to retrieve because it was an SSD. And for those of you who don't know and are currently running SSDs, to retrieve information from a corrupt SSD is excessively difficult, as I found out the hard way. Mechanical drives, you know, they give you an indication. Oh, by the way, bro, I'm going to be failing soon, so your rewrite speeds are going to be slower, and we're just going to be kind of finicky here and there, and you might want to blah, 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 and you can run a test on it, and, oh, this drive is corrupt, not doing too well. But SSDs, oh, my SSD has disappeared. I wonder where it is. Oh, it's gone. So, food for thought for those of you running SSDs. Super reliable until they're not. That was a quote from a buddy of mine who's in cybersecurity. He said, yeah, SSDs are great, super reliable until they're not. And I guess you could say that about cars and whatever else you use in this wonderful world of technology we live in. Everything is reliable until it isn't. Until that day that it fails. So as you see, the pressure curve is wonderful. I mean, look at that. Just wonderful. If I want to go really tight and really dark. And it's just, golly. And, you know, a lot of people have asked me about this pen. And, you know, I talked about it a little bit in the visual package before. But you know, the pen shape, I was like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like a standard pen. It feels like one of those construction pencils, you know, the ones that are flat. And I always wondered why they did that. It probably has to do with lying on a tilt. You don't want it to roll away, so I can understand. And plus, you put it under there and it charges. That might be another design choice from Microsoft. I'm like, yeah, they know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. So what I'm going to do, just to speed things along, because this, you know, drawings like this don't take 5 minutes. And I wanted to show you guys, just, you know, just for transparency, that indeed, after using this device for a while, I really have grown accustomed. Now, a lot of people are going to ask about this. This is kind of a lifesaver whenever it comes to these Surface devices. There's multiple companies that sell these dongle. So you plug in the dongle right there. It's usually in the back. And this one's battery operated. Some of them are rechargeable. But these quick key devices that pair with these surfaces, and you install the driver. This one just happens to be made by XP Pen. And I'm used to it, and I like the quick key configuration. Wacom sells one, SenseLab sells one, Huion sells one. They all, you know, sell this particular kind of form factor that basically you program your quick keys in, and you can, instead of having a keyboard, which, you know, I've already folded the screen down, you can I'm gonna do this right here. Let's do this. I have that other thing right there. And you can program your quick keys, and it makes life so much easier. And I've just grown accustomed to using the one from XP Pen. I did recently use one from SenseLab. It was great. And I used one from Huion. It was great. Huion was very unique because it had tons of quick keys. I'm like, dude, it would take me weeks to program this and get it to where I could use it in my workflow. So this one's really easy. It's got the scroll wheel. It's got the place here I can click, and you got the brush size, so I can change the brush size, scroll, zoom, so on and so forth, and all my quick keys in here. So I just, whenever I want to save, I press this button, boom, and it saves. If I want to rotate, I click this button here on the side, and I can rotate. So anyway, so let's, whoops, you gotta go back to brush. Oh, that's interesting. I've gone back to brush twice. Okay. User error. Alright, so let's go ahead and put you guys on time lapse while I wrap this particular sketch up. Let's do a here. I don't like that. Let's do a square. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I don't like that either. Let's just do a square. Make it easy. Okay, so you get basically the overall. Oh, he's lifting it up. Oh. Okay. All right, time lapse. Okay, and that's kind of an overview of where I'm at with this machine. You did hear the microphone, and I noticed this in playback because I did some playback review after I did the video. It seemed to cut a little bit and then was kind of dim and then it came back. There are settings on the machine that keep the volume at the same level. You know, they don't want spikes and all of those things happening. So I haven't really gone in and figured out exactly the perfect setting for streaming and doing videos yet. And I am relying on the machine to record. I do have a wireless mic, but I wanted to make sure that a lot of people don't have that option to get the wireless mic. So they have, you spend X amount of dollars, whatever this machine costs. I think you can get it on the Microsoft Store now, $1,400. And you could probably pick it up used for $7 or $8. These are going for pretty inexpensive machines right now. Overall, I still give it an A for just experience. Drawing on this machine is great. This pen coupled with this machine is really hard to beat. I love drawing on this machine. I love the fact that it runs full programs because it is a full PC. And it's got that Iris graphics card, which, believe it or not, is pretty quick. I am surprised every time whenever I'm running multiple programs. The ability for that particular graphics card to do things is quite impressive. I have an older, like I said, a Surface Book that has that graphics card in it. And, the heat is really the Achilles heel of these machines. Whenever it gets too hot, what happens? It throttles it. I watched a video too recently of this machine, a review of this machine, and how they were able to get it to its maximum maximum output. And it all had to do with the positioning of where the screen was. In laptop mode, it was not great. In full down drawing mode, it was a little bit better. But whenever you had it in studio mode, which is where I'm at right now, the graphics card was way up high. And I'm pretty sure in terms of performance, and I'm pretty sure that has to do with the fact that that airport is not obstructed in any way, because it's got a fan on the inside and it sucks air into the computer right behind the keyboard, and that's that's all open. So I'm sure that the computer senses that and is like, yeah, let's boost the power. And again, I run it at maximum power all the time and 120 hertz refresh rate. So overall, I love this machine. It is one of those machines that covers a lot of things and does a lot of things very well. And I'm sure if I had looked at getting a higher end machine, the i7 will be a possibility. But here, you got to understand something too. And a lot of people are like, I just want the i7. I need this. I need that. The i7 is faster, but it's not a huge amount faster. And it sucks so much more battery life. And whenever you have that graphics card, again, it's got that battery life. And if battery life is something that you're really concerned with, then definitely think about that. The only thing that I would have changed if I had ordered this would be if I could upgrade that hard drive to a terabyte. I know, and I've seen on YouTube as well as some other places, that you do have the ability to upgrade this hard drive, which I'm a little afraid of cracking open one of these machines. But you don't have to take the screen apart, and there's, you take this plastic tape around the machine, and I think there's 8 screws or 10 screws or something like that, and you take it out, and it's just literally a plug and play situation. And of course, you have to have your operating system on a different dongle that you have to run and install, and there's a whole thing going on there. So obviously, if you're going to do that, follow directions, because you don't want to brick your computer or hurt it or destroy it in any way. So the update is thumbs up. Woohoo! Thumbs up for this machine. I use it a lot and I love drawing on it. Being able to pick it up. It's got that always on technology where it kind of suspends everything, and I can open the screen, and the battery degradation isn't like some of the other machines that I had where I could let it sit for 3 days and then after a day it was completely dead. And I'm not sure why it would do that. But this one has the ability, it's got that screen closed and you can pick it up and go to town right then after it sits a few days or even 4 or 5 days. If you have another type of stylus, such as the Renassier 520. The Renassier 520 works, and it works really good. I haven't dialed in this particular pen perfect in terms of pressure curves, so, and I think too it's a little low on power. This is a rechargeable. That's why, with this particular pen, it just sits nice and snug right under the front lip, and it charges magnetically, and it's really great, and it's always there. But this particular pen is $130. So that is a lot of money. And that's one of the things that you need to consider buying this machine, right? You can use a different pen. And I think the Renassier 520 is $40 off Amazon. And they're not a sponsor or anything, so don't worry about that. It's just a great pen. That's just another option that you have as far as pen technology goes. This does use the Microsoft Pen protocol, so I'm sure other pens will work with this machine. You don't have to get this particular pen. I wanted to get this pen because I wanted the true experience of how they designed it. They do take into account different pen technologies that are out there, not technologies, different pen manufacturers. But the reality is they really stay true to their design directives. So I wanted to make sure and get the best experience possible. Other than that, there's so many different options out there today. I know Microsoft recently released their newest, latest, and greatest Surface Pro line, which included the Pro 9, which was an incremental bump in terms of technology. I did see that they're really focusing that machine on being a work machine for people that stay at home and do some of those things, because it's got different camera technology, different audio sensing technology, which is fantastic. But I'd be anxious to see what the next generation of this machine is going to be. What's the next Surface Laptop Studio going to be? I love it. I think it's great, and I highly recommend it. This is what I tell people. I'm like, if you really want to know what it's like, go to a Microsoft store or somebody that sells this particular product and do a test drive. It's important that you do stuff like that. Go to the Apple store, draw on an iPad Pro, I don't really want to compare this machine to an iPad Pro, because the iPad Pro is such a different type of machine where you're like, they both draw, they both, run programs, and what else? Yeah, they do that, but it's completely different. I don't use the iPad for anything other than just sketch and just simple drawing tasks and entertainment, and, watching some videos and some tutorials. Procreate's a great program. But here's the thing that you need to remember as a professional. I need the full version of the program, and I need the ability to transfer files efficiently, access files efficiently, install fonts efficiently, do brushes, and all these things that I know how to do on a PC and a Mac. And whenever I inject them into the iPad, or try to, there's a learning curve. And frankly, I'm just to the point in my career, I don't want to learn a whole new, completely different way of managing files on the iPad. And, you see that they're trying to make the iPad more and more like a computer, but it's a challenge. And they've got their computers, they've got their desktops, they've got their phones, and now they've got this iPad, which, by the way, a lot of people hate the new iPad. I don't quite understand that concept, other than they have made some really weird choices. It's faster, it looks good, the battery life's probably better. The pen technology, and I tell people, they probably made 1 billion pens, and they're trying to get rid of the pens, because if they had the new iPads that support the new pen, then what happens to this 500,000 pens that we have in the warehouse? What are we going to do with those? We just can't sell them. They're going to flood the market, and it's going to make the price go down. No, they're smart. They know what they're doing. And a lot of times that whole, the puppet, the market manipulation and how they do things, we're just going to incrementally update you, and who knows what Apple is doing. But this machine, definitely an A. How do you get to an A+? Don't have the screen blank in Photoshop. Yeah, okay. So, maybe that's a Windows issue. Maybe it's a Photoshop issue. Maybe it's a user error. I don't really know. You guys saw the blink. You saw what happened, and it only happened at one setting. In the full screen version of Photoshop on this machine was I getting weird black square anomalies. So hopefully you guys take this update review tongue-in-cheek, and you get something from it. and lots of stuff going on. I got new reviews coming up. I got multiple stuff happening. Christmas is coming up, which means I got to do a Christmas drawing for you guys. So, big breath, big breath. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. If you like what you see, hit that notification bell. And as always, go out and draw something and make sure you put a smile on your face and all that other stuff. Happy trees, happy trees, happy trees. Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.